Number 10. Oleksandr Usyk. Graduating from the esteemed class of 2012, Oleksandr Usyk currently forms part of a Ukrainian golden generation that's seen world champions in 5 different weight classes. He may only have rose to prominence in the professional ranks in recent years, but his impact on the sport in such a short space of time has been extremely impressive.
If you're a fan of boxing, you will like watching Usyk fight.
Since picking up the WBO world title in 2016, it took Usyk just 5 more fights to unify one of the most talent-rich divisions of the sport. And he did it all without needing home advantage. Travelling to Poland, Latvia and Russia, he became the first ever cruiserweight to acquire all 4 world championship belts. And it was a feat capped by a resounding points victory over the mighty Murat Gassiev in the final of the World Boxing Super Series. It's for this reason, as well as being able to dominate a variety of styles at the highest level, that Usyk has made this list. And after his farewell fight as a cruiserweight, a highlight reel knockout over Britain's Tony Bellew, Usyk set his sights on the heavyweight division. It remains to be seen if he can repeat the same feats against opponents with significant size advantages, but his sublime amateur pedigree and advanced ring IQ will certainly keep the heavyweights on high alert. Number 9. Wladimir Klitschko. Forming one half of the double-headed dragon that ruled heavyweight boxing for a decade, Wladimir Klitschko secured the second longest title reign in the history of the sport.
And still recognized as the universal undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Despite the majority of that reign occurring in the decade before, Wladimir still prolonged his dominance up until 2015.
Down goes Pulev on another left hook.
One opponent after another, all was subdued by a crippling jab and a machine-like right hand that was never too far behind. This methodical, consistent style, created by the great Emanuel Steward, was housed in an athletic 6'6" frame that kept a firm grip on the WBA, WBO and IBF championships. It would eventually require the human enigma Tyson Fury to bedazzle Wladimir and give him his first taste of defeat in 12 years. And before long, the heavyweight titles were scattered throughout the division. 18 months later, and on the wrong side of 40, Wladimir sought the attention of Anthony Joshua in a bid to reclaim his lost titles.
You've been boxing as long as he's been alive. Is this too soon for him?
Or it's too late for me?
90,000 people packed out Wembley Stadium to witness 11 rounds of breathtaking action, which eventually saw Wladimir succumb to Joshua's power. It was a heavyweight fight for the ages, and ironically, it was in defeat that Wladimir finally earned the adoration he was sorely missing during his decade-long reign as a champion. Number 8. Gennady Golovkin. Golovkin's ascent to boxing superstardom was an unlikely one. By the turn of the decade, he was already 28 years of age, spoke no English, and yet to even fight on American TV. Armed with only a mythical knockout reputation, the Kazakh brawler finally got his breakthrough in September 2012 when the premium American channel HBO took a chance on him. Golovkin repaid HBO's faith in him by obliterating Grzegorz Proksa in just 5 rounds. The reputation of him being boxing's most dangerous man was now verified. Elite fighters of the division voluntarily stayed clear of Golovkin's destructive path that left behind 12 consecutive knockout victims.
Oh my goodness, that's not normal. What we just saw was not ordinary, it was extraordinary. That kind of punching power.
His terrifying middleweight reign led to him swooping the WBA, IBF and WBC world titles. By 2015, Golovkin had become the fan favourite pay-per-view superstar that just 4 years prior seemed a distant fantasy.
Well, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If there's a better middleweight on the planet, who is he? Who would want to get in a ring with him?
His achievements alongside devastating power and sound boxing fundamentals would otherwise have earned Golovkin a higher place on this list. But a once proud and respectful boxing rivalry with Canelo Alvarez was turned extremely bitter by two controversial encounters marred by questionable judging and a failed drug test on Canelo's part.
118, 110 for Canelo? No, that did not happen. That is fiction, unfortunately.
As such, Golovkin's incredible fight record exhibits two glaring blemishes, a draw and a loss, which fans to this day still fiercely contest. Despite being 37 years of age and physical gifts waning, Golovkin enters the new decade campaigning for a third fight with Canelo to correct what he feels have been serious injustices. Number 7. Roman Gonzalez. Also known as Chocolatito, formed from his nickname Little Chocolate, Roman Gonzalez single-handedly brought much-needed attention to the smaller weight classes. A whirlwind of ferocious punching, beautiful balance and an incredible offensive IQ, the 5'3" Nicaraguan was an almost perfect fan-friendly champion. From 2015 to 2017, he was regarded by many ardent boxing observers to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet.
Where does he rank?
He's #1 for a reason. Very strong, very precise with his punches.
To be even considered for this title was a remarkable feat in itself, given the disadvantage of his size and non-English speaking background. As an amateur, he remained undefeated in 88 fights. He turned pro in 2005 at the age of 18, and right up to 2017 he amassed 46 straight victories with 38 knockouts. Along the way, he swept world titles over the span of 4 weight classes, all of which were conquered on foreign soil. But Gonzalez's greatness wasn't defined by just the numbers, it was how he racked up the accolades. Very rarely does a fighter defeat top-level competition in such a high-octane, enthralling style. It wasn't until he was outsized and outpunched over 2 fights by the fierce Srisaket Sorungvasai that fans were reminded of his mortality.
Not simply the Chocolatito's.
He goes a second time, and this is it. This is over. He is knocked out.
Gonzalez has since bounced back from that devastating defeat with a fine knockout win of his own. And despite having surgery to his knee in 2019, temptations still remain for a final throw of the dice in a bid to reclaim a world title. Number 6. Terence Crawford. At the time of this video's release, Terence Crawford may well be the most complete fighter in the world. A chameleon in the ring, his versatility has allowed him to effortlessly snatch world titles in 3 different weight divisions. His championship reign began when he travelled to Scotland to defeat the then WBO lightweight champion Ricky Burns. And following a Fight of the Year performance against the sensational Yuriorkis Gamboa, Crawford set his sights on conquering the weight classes above.
Explosiveness is a Crawford trademark.
It took just 2 years to wipe out the entire light welterweight division and own every belt available. His athleticism, punch variety, defence and an incredible fight IQ set him head and shoulders above even the most respectable of opponents in the division. But as often in boxing, a fighter's greatness can be his curse. A lack of worthy opposition and a political divide in the sport has robbed Crawford of marquee scalps that do his elite talents justice, and in possession of one of the world titles, Crawford faces the difficulty of enticing opponents that don't belong to the same promotional stable. Most notably, Errol Spence, an equally tenacious welterweight who most observers regard as the #1 fighter in the division. It remains to be seen whether a fight between the two will ever take place. But what is certain is that it's the type of super fight that Crawford desperately needs to showcase his greatness to the world. Number 5. Vasiliy Lomachenko. Another fighter from Ukraine's golden generation, and quite easily the finest. Engineered with an advanced hybrid style that combines both defence and attack, Lomachenko is known for defying the laws of physics in the boxing ring and living up to his moniker, the Matrix.
Greg Serb makes a great point about the angles. The angles, of course, are created by the footwork, as well as the awareness, the visions, all the things that go into the sophisticated style of Vasiliy Lomachenko.
The architect of this product was none other than his father, Anatoly Lomachenko, who, through a unique blend of traditional boxing training, wrestling, football, horse riding, and even dancing, would lead his son to an astonishing amateur record of 397 fights, with just one defeat that was later avenged twice. Lomachenko made his professional debut in 2013 and was immediately targeting world honours. And 15 pro fights later, 3 weight divisions had been stormed through in emphatic, record-breaking fashion.
Sensational right hook.
Combined with sublime footwork and almost superhuman teleporting abilities to punch at odd angles, this new, innovative fighting style is sure to unleash a generation of Lomachenko hopefuls. But much like his promotional stablemate Terence Crawford, an elite opponent with matching abilities is required for that career-defining fight. And with young competitors such as Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney raising their profiles, the new decade could very well serve up the fights Lomachenko is chasing. Number 4. Andre Ward. When, in 2009, Andre Ward announced himself to the world with an upset win over the highly regarded Mikhail Kessler, he was quickly prophesied as the future pound-for-pound successor to Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. And in the coming years, the Oakland native would honour the expectations placed on him. In 2011, he was crowned the super middleweight king when he won the coveted Super 6 boxing tournament. Ward's flawless campaign was topped off with a 12-round masterclass over the respected Carl Froch to become the unified WBA and WBC champion of the world. But unfortunately, the period between 2012 and 2015 was marred with reoccurring injuries and setbacks in which Ward would fight only once per year. Eventually, in 2016, he moved up to light heavyweight as part of a 3-fight deal with HBO, which would conclude with a mouth-watering showdown with the division's undefeated monster, Sergey Kovalev. What was a planned farewell fight to retire on top of the sport turned instead into a fierce 2-part rivalry.
Oh! Down goes Ward on a perfect right-hand shot. Never has he tasted thunder like that before.
The first fight resulted in an agonisingly close points decision win in which Ward was required to climb off the canvas. Demands for a rematch saw the two fight again in the following summer. The result this time, however, was a more definitive one, as Ward capitalised on Kovalev's weaknesses unveiled in the first fight and stopped him with a sustained assault to the body. An almost fairy tale ending, Andre Ward retired undefeated in 2017 as a 2-weight world champion with a perfect 32-fight record. Number 3. Manny Pacquiao. Before entering the new decade, Manny Pacquiao was already considered an all-time great. Blitzing through champions and Hall of Famers with staggering speed and skill, the Filipino phenom justifiably secured the title of the Fighter of the Decade in the 2000s. The mere thought of him continuing his success for another decade was unimaginable. That he would begin with the brutalisation of Antonio Margarito and close it with an electrifying win over the #1 welterweight Keith Thurman was incomprehensible. Yet Manny Pacquiao, persevering through earth-shattering defeats and dubious officiating, had completed one of the finest evolutions of a fighter that a boxing aficionado could study.
Manny Pacquiao in the storm.
We thought Manny Pacquiao was way better than we thought.
Pacquiao's now legendary career.
He rose to prominence as a one-arm knockout artist, touched the highest peaks of the sport as a boxer-puncher, and now in his twilight years is galvanising audiences as the crafty counter-punching veteran. An ageless wonder of the boxing world, next year will mark the 4th decade in which Pacquiao has been a world champion. The consistency and the manner in which he's performed at the highest level has been nothing short of astonishing. So good has his career been, that one could arguably pick out 3 separate Hall of Fame runs in his 71 fights as a professional. A truly once-in-a-lifetime fighter whose legacy will undeniably live forever. Number 2. Saul Canelo Alvarez. As it currently stands, Canelo Alvarez is the premier name in boxing. Boasting the hottest financial deal in the game, his is a status that's not without merit. By the time he made his US debut in 2010 as a 19-year-old, Canelo was already a 32-fight professional. Less than a year later, he became the youngest ever light middleweight champion when he picked up the vacant WBC title against Matthew Hatton. Some careful matchmaking and routine defences eventually led to his toughest test to date, a unification against WBA champion Austin Trout. The skill and poise exhibited in this bout convinced Canelo he was ready to take on the pound-for-pound king, Floyd Mayweather. It was a fight in which he would lose an undefeated record, but gain so much more. The defeat spurred him to become one of the most supremely skilled fighters in the game, amassing 7 back-to-back victories against highly regarded opposition.
There's a perfect straight right hand. What a performance by Canelo Alvarez.
It eventually led to 2 blockbuster fights with former friend-turned-foe, Gennady Golovkin. Fights in which Canelo will be remembered for all the right reasons and the wrong. A very lucky draw and a failed drug test later, Canelo secured the most defining victory of his career with a gutsy 12-round performance. He would go on to close the final year of the decade by picking up a world title in his 3rd weight class when he knocked out Sergey Kovalev in the 11th round. Now the WBO light heavyweight champion, Canelo has set his sights on the super middleweight champions below to become a 4-weight world champion. Number 1. Floyd Mayweather. Retired without ever tasting defeat, Floyd Mayweather's 50-fight career spanned over 20 years and across 5 different weight divisions. Remarkably, the peak of his powers were exhibited before this decade even began. And were it not for the existence of fellow great Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather would have easily secured the title of Fighter of the Decade in the 2000s as well. Though he would only have 10 fights since, the greatness in Floyd Mayweather's latter reign rests mainly on the quality of opponents. He began the decade by taking on longtime rival Shane Mosley, in which he displayed the mental fortitude and tactical astuteness to overcome a brief moment of crisis and secure a dominating points win. A peculiar knockout victory over the newly crowned WBC welterweight champion Victor Ortiz, and an entertaining 12-round affair with WBA super welterweight champion Miguel Cotto, then set Mayweather up for a box office fight with a young Canelo Alvarez. It was a challenge he gladly accepted, taking full advantage of the Mexican's inexperience at elite level and securing an almost flawless points victory. By now, Mayweather had firmly re-established himself as boxing's pound-for-pound number 1 and could turn his attention to Manny Pacquiao to create the highest-grossing fight in boxing history. The fight failed to reach the dizzying heights the promotion set out, but Mayweather earned a unanimous points decision win and the most valuable scalp of his already illustrious career. It is often said that the sport itself, boxing, is the ultimate unbeatable foe. It takes from you more than it gives. But Floyd Mayweather stands alone as the exception. Retired with unprecedented wealth, an unblemished record and health fully intact, he beat boxing.